Hey! I just finished watching Next in Fashion for the first time and it was so good. I binged it in 2 days and I told myself that I couldn't start season 2 until I make a video discussing season 1's looks. So that's what we're here to do today. If you don't know, Next in Fashion is a show on Netflix and I believe there's 2 seasons out right now. The latest one came out in March 2023. Basically, there are 18 contestants starting off with, so they pair them up, so there's 9 teams. And then every episode is a separate competition that is revolved around a certain idea or trend in fashion. And for the later episodes, when the teams get cut down more and more, then they break up the teams and they compete solo. Only one contestant wins and the prize is $250,000 and then a partnership with an online retailer. But it is important to note that a lot of these contestants already have like thriving businesses. I think there's only one that doesn't. That being said, I've got my notebook and my laptop, so let's get right into episode 1. The theme for this episode is red carpet, and they only have to create one female look. I was honestly surprised by how little they introduced everybody, because in the first episode, I didn't really love any of the contestants just because they don't really show their backstory or talk about it. It's just kind of like throws you right into the fashion. So I will briefly introduce everybody. The first team is Naresh and Lorena. Then we have Claire and Adolfo, Ashton and Marco, Charles and Angelo, Carly and Daniel, Isaac and Nichelle. Then we have Kiki and Farai, Angel and Minju, and Julian and Haley. The first look that walked the red carpet was Angel and Minju, and they had a pink dress that had like a bow detail in the back. It was Asian inspired and it had a loose silhouette, and it was all one color. I definitely don't think this dress is ugly, but I feel like I've already touched on my hatred for Valentino pink, and this shade is just too similar for me. If it was any other shade, I think it would be probably one of my favorites, but I cannot get past the pink. The next look was Ashton and Marco, and they definitely like black. They use a lot of black in most of the show. They really like to use like belts and hardware in their designs. So now knowing them after watching the whole show, this look completely represents them. I actually liked the contrast of materials and I liked the lace on the side. I think the design is pretty and I think the dress is pretty, but in terms of red carpet, probably I wouldn't say that this is my top pick. Next up was Isaac and Nichelle, and watching them work together this episode made me want to scream. Like, she's so nice and he is him. Like, I don't want to be too mean. Obviously, reality TV is not reality. Like, I get that. But this guy was not, no, something was off. When I saw this, I thought it was actually really beautiful. And I think that the judges would have agreed if it wasn't so like impractical. The model couldn't go to the bathroom in this dress and she could barely walk down the runway. So for a challenge where you're creating a red carpet look and you'll be walking the runway, it definitely is impractical. I think it was ambitious and I feel like Nichelle deserves so much better than this guy. The next look was Farai and Kiki, and this dress, the color, this pink, I am totally okay with. I'm not really a prince person, so I didn't really care for the like piece that they had over the dress, but I don't think it was ugly. The judges said that it was a little bit too much going on, and I do agree with that. But overall, I think the actual dress is very nice. Next up was Carly and Daniel, and you know what? This look, I think it's elegant, it's classy. I personally wouldn't like wear it or be ecstatic to see someone else be wearing it on the red carpet, but I do think celebrities do wear this style. More specifically, it actually made me think of Taylor Swift. Like, I think she would definitely wear the silhouette, if not now, but she definitely would have during her 1989 era. When I first saw this look, I thought it was white, navy, and black, but turns out it's actually white, navy, and green. I just feel like I would have liked if the green was more green, if that makes sense, and it didn't look so dark on the runway. But overall, yeah, it was good. I feel like they played it safe, but it worked. Naresh and Lorena chose a dress with some print. And again, I'm not really like attracted to prints, so I feel like I would have liked it better if it was a little bit more solid, but I don't think that it took away from the dress. It's not my favorite print, but I really liked the design, like the one shoulder and the keyhole. I think it looked very good. And then we have Julian and Haley, who was not a judge favorite, but I feel like it was not that bad. It was like a white jumpsuit with a laced skirt, and they said there was too much going on, but I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think there's too much going on. I don't think there's too little going on. I think it's just a solid look. I think I would have preferred if the skirt wasn't sheer. Like, I think if it was white with birds on it, then I would have liked this look more. Next, we have Claire and Adolfo, and honestly, it's not one of my favorites. I do like the lace design, but I feel like it's almost too casual for a red carpet. And I actually don't like the contrast between the like sparkly fabric and then the light blue ties. I think it's unique, but personally not for me. And then last but certainly not least, we have Angelo and Charles, who did a black dress with like pink underneath. This look was so well done, and I think I appreciate it more now that I've seen the show than I did in the moment, because I thought, well, they used black, like that's just a safe option. But by the end of the show, I was like, if I ever design anything, I am not doing black, because it goes wrong like so easily where it just doesn't compare. So this is like 10 times better now that I'm seeing it. So yeah, this was definitely one of my favorites. The way that the show works is at the end of every episode, they choose one team that's a winner, and then they eliminate one other team. And to kind of make this more fun for myself, before the judges started like discussing, I would write down which ones I would like to win and which ones I would eliminate. So these are my opinions before I heard what the judges actually said. So we're gonna compare what I thought with what the judges thought. The judges for this episode were, of course, Tan France and Alexa Chung, and then they had Elizabeth Stewart and then Eva Chen and guest judge Monique Lullier. Starting the show, I didn't really know what to expect, and I feel like my opinions weren't as refined as they were by the end. So for my favorites, I said Ashton and Marco, Angelo and Charles, and then Angel and Minju. And looking back, I definitely stand by those choices. I do think if I had to watch it again, I would give it to Angelo and Charles out of the three. And the judges chose Angelo and Charles. I think they definitely deserve it. I think they deserve it more now than I did before. So yeah, I think they did a great job. In terms of eliminations, I wrote down one team, Isaac and Nichelle. I felt so bad for Nichelle, not for Isaac, of course, but I feel like she had so much potential, but she just kind of got overruled by Isaac in like every aspect of this challenge. And unfortunately, the judges did agree with me. They eliminated Isaac and Nichelle. And one of the notes that I wrote was, they send the fat girl home first day, gosh. And you know what? I have to agree with that. They had a portion of the episode discuss how she was a plus size girl and there weren't a lot of her, especially she's also Latina. There weren't a lot of people like her in the industry. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that there was someone plus size on the show. I feel like if I knew that, I would have started the show a long time ago. But a part of me was kind of just like, great, I get to watch like a bunch of thin women create fashion. Like, splendid. But the cast was more diverse than I expected. That being said, I was so excited to see Nichelle throughout this whole thing. I was like, yes, we have a plus size girl creating fashion. I am so excited. When I saw her, I was like, yes, that's what I'm rooting for. And then she gets eliminated first day, and I get that it's not the show's fault necessarily, but I was definitely bummed out that she went home so early on. The challenge for episode 2 was prints and pattern. So going into this, I was like, oh no. More specifically, I actually wrote, I am not a print person, no, with 4 O's. But need not worry, I walked into this with a very open mind. I was like, I might hate everything, but like I need to be objective about it. And that is exactly what I did. For this episode, they had to create one male look and one female look. And the first looks to walk the red carpet were Farai and Kiki. They had gold, black, and white looks. And I actually really liked the men's jacket. I thought the female look was pretty simple, but it did match the men's look, so they were cohesive. I liked the story behind this. Farai and Kiki definitely focused on like African heritage and inspiration from fashion throughout like the entire show. And so I do like that they are sticking to what has meaning to them. Out of the two of these, I would say I prefer the male's look as opposed to the female's look, but I wouldn't say that either of these are my favorite. Next, we have Claire and Adolfo, and I don't even care. I saw this and I was like, yes, I'm in love with this. I love this. I love the color. I actually really like the stripes, which is surprising for me. So I was like, maybe I'm not that anti-print. I just like it a certain way. The male's look is good, but I feel like the female's look is just, it's everything. The structure, like the drama, I love it. The green and white just looks so beautiful together, and I feel like I would have said that it's too much green, but I just really liked it. So yeah, go Claire and Adolfo. Next, we have Naresh and Lorena, and if you don't remember, in episode 1, they also chose to do a print, so I was like, they got this in the bag. And Naresh wears a lot of prints. Like even in this episode, he was rocking so many prints. And so I had total faith. I was like, yep, they're gonna win, like they got this. But unfortunately, Lorena didn't like print as much as he did, which again, I feel for her, I understand, but I think that she ultimately shut down a lot of his best ideas, and he, being a good partner, was compromising a lot. But I really think that he should have taken the lead, and Lorena should have sat back a little bit, because clearly Prince is what he does. I feel like if he could have executed his looks, it would have been better, because right now it's just black and silver and it's very simple. I don't think that either of these looks are bad by any means. I saw the potential and they didn't quite get there. So that was definitely a bummer. Next, we have Julian and Haley, and it's like orange cow print, and I'm actually a big fan of cow print. Like, I feel like it was very popular during like quarantine in 2020, but I definitely don't mind a cow print. So that's why I was so surprised when I hated this. Shockingly, the print was not the problem. When they were picking out prints, I actually really liked this orange cow print. So I don't know what they did with it. Like, I guess I'm just not really like a tie lace-up kind of girl, because it just wasn't for me. And I also don't think that like a bodycon dress shows your full like talent and what you can do as a designer. The men's look I would say is a little bit more impressive, but I wouldn't say that I was wowed by either of these. Next, we have Ashton and Marco, and they took inspiration from Gwen Stefani in the 90s. And you know what? I actually don't mind it. Both of them were not fond of using pattern and print either, so they actually made their own plaid using different swatches of fabric. I actually really liked the creativity, and I think that they deserve some points for that. And I like the structure of the women's dress as well. I think the men's look is cool, and this is definitely true to them. I'm not a huge fan of the neon. I think I could have done without it, but I understand why they used it. So yeah, not my favorite, but I wouldn't say not my least favorite either. Then we have Angelo and Charles, who won the last challenge, so I feel like definitely felt the pressure. They made their own print, and I actually don't mind the print. The first thing that caught my eye were the neon socks, and like I said with the previous look, I'm just not a huge fan of neon. And I think in this look, it didn't really add anything. So yeah, I like, but not love. And then we have Angel and Minju, and I think that I love their prints the most. Like, they just seem so fun and creative, and I really liked the silhouette of the woman's dress. I thought his look was cool too, but I definitely think the star of the show was the female model. And then last but not least, we have Carly and Daniel, and they really surprised me with this look. I actually quite enjoyed it. They had silver pants and then a like painted shirt for the man and then a watercolor dress for the woman. I don't think it's the most creative look on the runway, but I think it looks nice. Like the colors are very nice together. And I definitely like the idea. I think the structure could maybe use some work, or like the actual construction of it, because it does look a little bit less well made than some of the other ones. But honestly, I really liked this look. Definitely a lot more than the judges did. Speaking of the judges, they had Prabal Gurung on this episode of Next in Fashion as a guest judge, and I remember in my Met Gala video, this was the first time I'd heard about him. And I really liked a lot of his looks. So when they announced that he was going to be guest judging, I was like, oh my gosh, I know him. This show came out like a while before the Met Gala, but I didn't know that he was in this. And then Tan France, Alexa Chung, and Elizabeth Stewart return as judges for this episode. My favorites, I don't think this is a surprise, but I put down Claire and Adolfo. I circled this because I preferred this out of all of them, but I also included Carly and Daniel, and then Angel and Minju. The winners, according to the judges of this episode, are Angel and Minju. I think they deserve it. I think they were very creative with their print. And now for the sad part, eliminations. I put down Julian and Haley, and the judges actually loved their looks because they said that it would be like good on Instagram or something, and like people would wear that. I don't know. Like I guess I get what they're thinking, but I personally would have chosen them to be eliminated. The team that they actually chose to send home were Naresh and Lorena, and I feel like that's just so sad. Naresh getting eliminated on the round that he like specializes in is just, I really didn't think they were gonna do it. When I heard their names, I was like, no, this is a joke. Like, this is what he does, but you know what, he didn't bring his A game, and that's unfortunate, but he did actually stick by Lorena's side at the end, so good for him. For episode 3, the challenge was to create a suit, and by far, everyone bought their A games. Like, as a whole, this had the best looks. So let's get right into it, starting off with Carly and Daniel. I'm a sucker for this shade of brown. I went to a fashion show a couple of weeks ago, and one of my favorite looks was like entirely this brown color. So I think I was a little bit biased, but I really like this. I especially liked the shoulder pads, and I thought this suit was so beautiful. I really liked the shirt as well. So yeah, overall, I really liked this. There really wasn't an aspect that I didn't like. And then we have Angelo and Charles, who did a deconstructed suit. They chose a female model, and I liked the thought behind this, and I definitely loved the top. I don't personally like knee-length like skirts or pants, so if this was shorts or if it was pants, I think I would have preferred that. They did over-accessorize maybe a little bit, but I do think the design was good. Next up, we have Julian and Haley, and I'm not a huge fan of coral, so I didn't really love the like collar that they chose. I didn't think that it looked like really well constructed. I did like the length of the blazer though, because that is something unique. But overall, I wouldn't say that this is my favorite. I feel like I want to defend them almost a little bit because one of the judges, you know, have commentary throughout the runway show. One of the judges told Tan France that he didn't think that it looked expensive, to which Tan France responded that he only cares about expensive, and to say that I was a little bit surprised would be an understatement, given the fact that in the last episode, he had like a Tan's Tips segment. He was comparing a $75 suit to a $2,000 suit to kind of show that like how much it costs isn't what it's all about. So the fact that in the very next episode, he, quote, only cares about expensive, I was like, something about that's a little off to me. So while I didn't like this look, I feel like after I heard that, I was like, well, I kind of have to like it a little bit now. But now that the stubbornness has kind of worn off, this look is just not that great. Next up, we have Foray and Kiki, and I liked the design of this, I think that it had a lot of potential. I don't like the shoes like wrapped around the bottom of the pant. And I think there might have been a little bit too much going on in the front of the outfit. That being said, with like just a few changes, I think this could have been a really good look. Next up, we have Angel and Minju, and they had such a like good suit. The shoulder pads were so dramatic, and I actually really liked the all white. I liked the flowy pants, and in my mind it just felt like a white dress shirt but make it a suit, and I actually really enjoyed it. And then we have Ashton and Marco, who had a very beautiful suit. It just looks elegant. I really liked the shoulders and the train, and the way that it was constructed, you could actually see her shoulders if she moved a certain way, which I thought was really cool. And then last but not least, we have Claire and Adolfo, who produce another good look. It's all green, and I actually really like the silhouette. I love a good wide pant, so I thought this was cute, and if it wasn't in this color of green, I would definitely wear it to a runway, if I was ever invited to one, of course. I think the judges had some opinions on this that weren't like overly positive, but I liked it. The judges for this episode were Tan France, Alexa Chung, Jason Bolden, and then Philip Lim. My favorites, I put down Angel and Minju, Ashton and Marco, and then Claire and Adolfo. I thought that it was so hard to choose a favorite out of these, and they really aced the theme and created like different designs while still all being very good. And I think that all of them kind of chose like a different design, but they all turned out really good, and none of them were really misses. The winners that the judges chose were Carly and Daniel. And I don't disagree with them. If I put down 4 people, I would have put Carly and Daniel next. I think there could have been a little bit more creativity in their look, but I like Carly and Daniel, so I'm not complaining. For eliminations, I put down 2 teams. I put down Julian and Haley, and then Farai and Kiki, because honestly, I think those were the only 2 looks that I wasn't just in love with. The judges chose to eliminate Julian and Haley, and you know, I feel bad. I think that they had such different visions. I think if they had been put with different partners, they would have gone so much further. I think it's very similar how in episode 1, they should have just had a different team and they would have gone much further. They had such polar opposite ideas that they were amazing, and then they'd come together and create like a decent idea, because you know, it's not fun to compromise in fashion. You're not creating your best work. But I really feel like if I was in a situation, like, what are you gonna do about it? You're with someone polar opposite. You create as best as you can. So I think they were doomed to begin with, but I think they had a good run. For episode 4, the theme was streetwear, and I wrote down Ashton and Marco should excel in this because that's kind of their whole thing. I'm pretty sure that Ashton is the one with a streetwear business. Going into this, again, it was like with the prints and patterns, I had to be open-minded and objective because I don't know, like streetwear is so personal to everybody. I think I only like a specific type of streetwear because that's just what's personal to me. So for this challenge, I definitely took into consideration like the actual looks, but also the stories that they were trying to tell. So that being said, we're starting off with Claire and Adolfo. It's blue, it's got ties, it's white. When I see a look, I write down my initial thoughts, and then after the show, the judges go up to every contestant and then they kind of discuss what they were trying to show. And so I write down my second opinions if I have any new ones after that. So when I initially saw this, I was confused, but they're actually trying to tell a story about pollution, and I think that's very important in fashion. So while I might not like the silhouettes or really the colors that much or the material, they do get like a couple points for the story. Next, we have Carly and Daniel, and I really liked this look. I think the men's jacket was really nice, and I liked the women's shirt. The colors they decided to use were red, white, and blue, and I really liked the fact that he had a parachute out of his pockets, because without that, I think this would have been a very simple look. But yeah, I liked this one. Next up are Angel and Minju, and they created a matching green and white outfit for their male and female model. I was actually actually surprised with how much I liked this because I didn't think that I would. I do think that the design and maybe the idea are a little bit simple, but I liked it. For Ashton and Marco, I was so happy that they didn't go with black. They went with like this tan neutral color. Their models wore hats, and I thought this was very practical. Like, I would definitely wear the dress that she was wearing. I was overall very impressed with this. And then we have Angelo and Charles, and they also decided to tell a story mostly with their female model. It was about how she had slept over at a guy's house, then put on his very oversized hoodie and cut it up, I think was the story. So it was like a deconstructed hoodie, which I thought was very cool. I liked the black belt. I think the men's look was definitely more simple than the female's look, but I also liked his look. Last but not least, we have Farai and Kiki, and they had a purple and black outfit, and I don't think the contrast was quite enough between the colors, but the design was there. I thought this look was really nice. I didn't quite love how Kiki was treating Farai during the creation of this, because Kiki was very revolutionary in the streetwear style, and so she kind of took a lead, but I feel like at some moments she wasn't treating Farai very kindly, but at some points I just felt like Kiki was being mean, so that was unfortunate, but I think the look that they put together, it was pretty good. The judges for this episode were Kirby John Raymond. We also had Jason Bolden, and then of course Tan France and Alexa Chung. For my favorites, I really liked Ashton and Marco, and then Angelo and Charles. The judges decided the winner was Angel and Minju. One of the main reasons that they chose them was because their design was very versatile. You could make like a sweater or a shirt or a pant out of what they created. So I thought that made sense. In terms of eliminations, I put down Farai and Kiki and then Claire and Adolfo, because out of the two of them, I wasn't really sure which I thought I wanted to go home. Everyone's design had like special meanings, so I didn't really feel strongly about eliminating anybody. And then crazily enough, the judges had the same thought process I did, because they actually decided to not eliminate anybody in this episode. Because the judges couldn't come to a unanimous decision, they decided that everybody should stay. For episode 5, they were creating underwear looks, which I was like very excited about. And honestly, one of the most exciting parts of this episode were that they finally had plus size models. I do believe this is the only episode that featured plus size models, but I'll take a win where I can get one. Everyone created one male and one female look, and the first look that walked the runway was Carly and Daniel. They kind of played on the gender neutral of lace and lingerie, and I actually really liked the men's lace top. I think the woman's outfit was pretty, but I wasn't a huge fan of her shorts. So definitely out of the two of these, I would say that the men's look was my favorite. Next up, we had Farai and Kiki, and I actually really liked the men's look. They decided not to put wire into the bra because of comfort, and they liked how it looked without it. So I did actually appreciate that. I liked the material of the top. It was very sparkly. I did not like her shorts though. As a fellow plus size girl, I feel like with shorts this short, it's hard for them not to ride up all the time, and that's definitely what happened. So I think if they were just slightly longer, it would have been cute. But yeah, I definitely didn't think this was a bad look. I think the straps contrast with the top, and then also the material of the top contrasts with the short. So I feel like out of the two of these, I definitely have more critiques about the women's look, but I think overall it wasn't bad. Ashton and Marco, I want to say that they were the most creative out of everyone in this challenge, and I was so impressed with the design of this bodysuit that they put on the female model. I think it's so easy to just put a straight size design and make it bigger and then put it on a plus size body, but it really seemed like they had a plus size body in mind, and they really catered towards that. So I really appreciated that. This was super colorful, and I thought the men's look was unique. I thought the top was very cute. I would definitely wear a top like that. That's so pretty. Overall, their models look stunning. In terms of Angelo and Charles, their male model didn't wear a shirt, but he did wear shorts, the same shorts that the female model wore, because they were trying to show how it's gender neutral and that lingerie wasn't for one specific gender. So I liked the message behind the shorts, and I really liked the woman's top. I thought it was so beautiful. I did think, you know, the man's look was pretty simple, but I feel like her look was very good. So it's 50-50 for me. I think the idea was really good behind the shorts, and I just cannot get over this top. Like, I just loved it so much. Next, we have Angel and Minju, who they definitely had some struggles with sexy. I think if they had shown just a little bit more skin on the men's look, it would look very sexy. I like the green, I like the lace. I would have gotten rid of the cape though. And then in terms of the female look, I don't hate the dress. I think the top looked ill-fitting. I think there could have been a little bit more coverage, but this was a unique spin on lingerie, and I feel like you don't need to be showing that much skin to be sexy. The judges definitely would not let this idea of sexy go. And like, I agreed with it maybe the first time they said it, but then by the 5th time, I was like, okay, people can be sexy and not be, you know, near naked. Like, it's okay. I wasn't completely agreeing with like the message here, but I wouldn't say this one was my like favorite either. And then last but not least, we have Claire and Adolfo. They chose this red velvet that I actually really like. I thought the men's top was very pretty, and on the ladies look, I actually really liked the lace-up detailing. So that was new for me because I usually am not a huge fan of that. I thought this look was really pretty overall, and they definitely saved themselves from being eliminated, I think. Like, they proved themselves. The guest judge for this episode was none other than Adriana Lima, the supermodel for Victoria's Secret. Like, amazing. I was so excited to see her, and I was a little worried that she was going to be mean and then I'd like change my opinion about her, but no, she was very kind. Along with her, they had Elizabeth Stewart come back, and then Tan France and Alexa Chung. I really liked this team. Like, the 4 of them were just, they were good judges. My favorites from this episode were Ashton and Marco, and then Carly and Daniel. And the winners that the judges chose were Ashton and Marco, which I think 100% they nailed this. They deserved it. Their look was completely different than everything else that walked the runway, and I just, yeah, they aced it. Unfortunately, someone did have to go home this episode, and I put down Farai and Kiki. I just feel like the construction of the looks maybe could have been a bit better, and the judges did agree with me, so Farai and Kiki did have to go home this episode. I think that maybe they were unfairly targeted sometimes during this show, just because it always seemed like every episode they were this close to going home, and it was like, okay, like either they're bad designers, so you should send them home, or you should actually give them a chance. Like, I don't know, because honestly, they weren't bad designers. It just seemed like they were being ranked low, like quite a few times. For the next challenge, the contestants had to create a rock look, more specifically 2, 1 male and 1 female look. Going into this episode, I was not really that excited because I like color, and I assumed that they would all be black looks because I feel like black is very closely related to rock. And while these looks were a little bit darker, they weren't all black, so I was pleased with that. Watching this episode, I noted that based on the sketches, I was most excited for Ashton and Marco because whatever they had going on looked very cool, and I liked the concept. The first look that walked the runway was Angelo and Charles, and honestly, the pictures don't do this look justice. I really think this look was incredible. The man had a shirt with a bunch of safety pins, and it was in the shape of a heart. They were gold safety pins, not silver, because the entire look was gold. I thought the quilt was cool, and overall I would probably say the man's look was my favorite, but the structure of her dress was really beautiful too, so I have nothing bad to say about this look. Next up on the runway, there was Claire and Adolfo, and I actually really liked the bodysuit. Like, the bodysuit was very pretty. The deep V was gorgeous. I liked the black and the white. I thought the bondage on the men's look was pretty cool too. I wouldn't say these looks were revolutionary, but I do think they were impressive, and I really liked the jackets. Angel and Minju. Honestly, I think for this challenge, they fell a little flat. They decided to create 2 silver looks. They were monochromatic, and the silhouettes did get a little bit lost, I think. They didn't have enough time to fix the pants, so they were way too long. And I also didn't think the color was very cute with the silver. I liked the silver. I think the choice of material was cool, but I don't think this was their best work. Next were Carly and Daniel, and I really liked these looks. They took the idea of like tickets and safety pin them onto the jackets, which honestly was my favorite part. I really liked the swatches, and they actually connected two parts of the ladies' jackets using swatches, which I thought was cool. I wrote down that I liked the lapels on the jacket, which I think is so funny because going to the show, if you would have asked me what lapels are, I wouldn't have known, but now I do. Yeah, out of the two of these, I really love the men's look, so that one would be my favorite, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the ladies' look. Last but not least, we have Ashton and Marco, and they did not come to mess around. This, like, bodysuit, this jumpsuit that they made for this female model is gorgeous. They also had a gold and black theme like Angelo and Charles did, and honestly, I like both of their looks. I thought the neckline on the men's look was cool, and honestly, overall, this is just, they're beautiful. I was really surprised about how many of these looks I actually really liked, given the fact that I kind of walked into it with a negative mindset. The guest judge for this episode was Christopher Kane, alongside Elizabeth Stewart, Tan France, and Alexa Chung. I had 3 favorites, but I did rank them. I would say my third favorite was Carly and Daniel. My second favorite was Ashton and Marco, and my first pick was Angelo and Charles. So winners the judges decided on were Carly and Daniel. Out of everyone, I wouldn't have guessed that Carly and Daniel would have won this challenge, but I'm not mad about it. In terms of eliminations, I was very sad to write this down, but the people that I would choose to eliminate are Angel and Minju. And I did write a little note. I said, I really hope they don't go home. I love Angel's personal style. The outfits that she wore to the competition every day was just like, I would so wear like everything that she wore, and her hair was always done in like unique ways. And I feel like you don't really see designers expressing themselves that much. They mostly put like that expression into their work, but she did both. I was really crossing my fingers that they would not go home, but in my mind, I feel like out of all of them, they did deserve it. The judges chose Claire and Adolfo, actually, which I was very surprised by, and I wrote down, I disagree, but I'm happy that Angel and Minju are staying, and I still agree with that. I don't think I would have chosen Claire and Adolfo to go home as opposed to Angel and Minju, but I think because Claire and Adolfo had been on like the verge of going home a couple of times, they probably chose that route as opposed to Angel and Minju. Just because, yes, this was just like a bad look on their part, but I think the way that they do the judging is solely based on the look that you're presenting for each challenge. They don't consider your past, at least they don't say that they do, because I think if you're considering past, then I would choose Claire and Adolfo, but I think out of the looks that were presented, Angel and Minju's was the worst. For episode 7, the theme was activewear, and there's actually a huge change for this episode because the teams got broken up. I was really sad about this because the teams that are left, like, they just have such good rhythm and chemistry, and it's just sad to see them like be by themselves. Going into this, I had a lot of thoughts. I wrote down, interested to see how different Angel and Minju are when separated because they seem so similar. When they're creating looks together, it does seem like they both have the same idea, which is very good in a team, but I was curious to see how different their looks would ultimately end up being. And then I also said I was so excited for activewear, which is so true. I said that I love Angel's hair. I can't remember what she was doing with her hair, but apparently I was a huge fan. In this episode, Carly said that activewear is not fashion, and I said that I disagree with that. I think that activewear has become a huge portion of like loungewear and streetwear, so I think that saying that it's not fashion is probably just not true. In this episode, you can clearly see that Angelo doesn't really know how to expertly use a sewing machine, and I said that that gave me hope because I can't use a sewing machine either. But it was cool to see that he's such an impressive designer and he has his own business and he can't even sew. I think that's cool. I was really excited for these looks, not only because they'd be separated so they could like fully indulge in what they want, but also because activewear is so cool. I feel like that's such an interesting like category to have on a show like this. So I was so ready. And honestly, they did not disappoint. The first look that walked the runway was Ashton, and it was a black to white ombre. One of the judges, I can't off the top of my head remember who, but they said that you can buy it from any store right now. And I wrote, no, you cannot. I feel like the judges were too harsh with Ashton this episode because you can't see in the photos, but you can detach like the sleeves and a lot of it's detachable. It's super wearable and it's super functional. Yes, I agree that ombre is a little overdone, but I don't think we should be docking this many points just because it's ombre. Next, we have Angel, and I really like the bodysuit, but I'm not a huge fan of the skirt. I think it's just the material, maybe the contrast in materials. This definitely looks like something Angel would create. I wouldn't say that this is my favorite look, but by no means is it a bad look either. Next, we have Angelo, who chose a male model to walk. He had a black outfit with neon accents. He created his own fabric for the leggings, and it didn't quite fit perfectly. But then again, we did just discuss how he couldn't really sew, so a lot of it was hand sewn, which I think is impressive. He created like sort of a sports bra as the top, which I think is very creative and cool, but it was not practical for like swimming, which is what he designed it for. I think the idea was there, but maybe not the execution as much. Now, Miss Minju. I was curious to see how her look would compare to Angel's, and she did not disappoint. I love these pastel colors. I love the coat. I love the shape of it. This look is just so pretty. I feel like, yes, she brought sexy. The judges were judging her for that, but she brought it. She knows what sexy is, and she aced it. Next, we have Marco, who I wouldn't say I really had any opinions about it. It was cool, and I liked the design. It looked like it was constructed pretty well, but it didn't make me like feel anything. So yeah, it was just kind of in the middle for me. I thought Charles's look was so cool. It was very practical, and it was actually inspired by his sisters, which I thought was very sweet. It fit really nicely, and it definitely seems like something you would see a boxer wear. The fit was honestly what did it for me. It looked like it was made for her, because Charles, I would say hands down, is the most talented like sewer. His construction is always 110%, and you could see that. Carly did not have the best time in this episode. She was not excited about doing activewear, and this was the first episode where she didn't have Daniel to help her, so her ambition might have been a little too much for the time. I thought the zippers were cool, and it did look like an elevated look you'd wear to yoga, but she didn't execute her vision fully, and it is kind of sad because I really was excited to see what she did, but that being said, at least she had a look. She made a look that could walk a runway, and that's pretty impressive. And then last but not least, we have Daniel, and his outfit really has a lot of color blocking, and it's for a rower, I believe. I like the mix of loose and tight, and I like how there's layers, and you could definitely style each individual piece in a different way, so it is very practical. Overall, I thought it was very nice. The guest judge for this episode was Josephine Auberg, and she's a designer at Adidas, so that makes sense. And then she was alongside Elizabeth Stewart, Tam France, and Alexa Chung. I was so bummed out to have to choose a favorite and least favorite from this crowd because at this point, I feel like I've learned all about their personalities and why they're here, and like it just feels wrong to say anything bad about them. I would say they're all friends, they all get along pretty well, and it seems like everyone was having fun. But I did choose some favorites. In third place, I would have put Daniel. In second place, I would have put Charles. And in first place, I would have put Minju. The winner that the judges decided on was Daniel. And I think his look was incredible, so good for him. I really liked Daniel's personality, especially in this episode. I feel like he's just so kind, and that wasn't really shown in the first couple of episodes. Like, I don't think he was portrayed as mean, but he just seems like such a genuine person. And then for eliminations, this was just sad. I put down Carly. And surprisingly, I put down Angel. I think Angel's a great designer. I just wasn't in love with this look. The two people that the judges decided to eliminate were Carly and Angelo. I was really sad to see Angelo go. I mean, I definitely wasn't surprised, but I just feel like his personality was so fun. It was fun to have him on the show. I also wrote down Ashton did, in capital letters, not deserve to be considered, and I stand by that. I really don't know why they were hating on Ashton's look so much. Like, sure, it wasn't my favorite, but I think it was probably pretty high up there. So I was disappointed that they even considered eliminating him. For episode 8, the category was military, which I was a little bit skeptical about, because when I think military, I think camo. And I wasn't sure I was gonna feel about 6 camo looks walking down the runway, but that is not what happened. Oh yeah, we're at final 6. There's only 6 people left, which is so sad. Going into this episode, I thought that it was gonna be pretty hard to be creative with this, but surprisingly, there was a lot of creativity. I wrote down Angel's denim jumpsuit. Are you kidding me? Love Angel's second day fit too. I really just love Angel's street style and the outfits she wears every day. That being said, she was actually the first person to walk the runway. I thought the gold color was very beautiful. I thought it looked regal, but I was not a huge fan of the bottom. The highlight of this look was definitely the jacket, and you know what? It looked gorgeous. I surprisingly really liked Ashton's look. I think the top was the most impressive part, the shoulders. I love a dramatic shoulder. I think it looked like almost armor, and it was very beautiful. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the length of the bottoms, but I see the vision. Minju had a beautiful jacket. The color was a rusty brown almost, and again, a dramatic shoulder. I thought the belt was a cool detail to add. I liked all of the buttons. I think it looked very high fashion, while also, if you change a few things, I think you could just wear it in a regular day life. So I thought that was cool. For Daniel's look, I really liked the head cover, and I thought the coat was just magnificent. Yeah, probably wasn't the most creative design out of all of them, but I thought it looked really nice. For Marco's look, I was a little disappointed that when the judges came around, they said that it looked like it was going to be a superhero inspired outfit, and so he changed the design. And I don't know if that was the best choice. I almost wish he would have gone with his first gut instinct, but I do understand why he changed it. I think the top looks really nice. But I don't know how I feel about the no pants look. There is a skirt at the back, it's just not very long, and I think even with the changes he made, it still looked superhero-y, so maybe he should have just committed, I don't know. And last but not least, we have Charles, and I really loved the structure of this jumpsuit. I thought the silhouette was cool, and yeah, it wasn't revolutionary, but it was nice. The guest judges for this episode were Maxwell Osborne and Dao-Yi Chow, and then of course, they were alongside Elizabeth Stewart, Tan France, and Alexa Chow. In my opinion, the best was clear. I loved Minju's look the most. The winner that the judges chose was Angel. I love Angel, so I definitely have no complaints here. I just don't think it was better than Minju's look. For eliminations, the two people I wrote down were Marco and Charles, and the two people that the judges decided to send home were Marco and Charles. I just feel so bad for Marco. He was, I believe, the only one without his own brand, and it's just so devastating. I feel like he could have done so much if he had one. The biggest criticism from the judges was that he wasn't putting his heart into it, which I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe what they were trying to say is that it doesn't seem like he takes the most risks. He does what's comfortable, but I definitely wouldn't say that he doesn't put his heart into it. It was very clear to me that he really cared about the pieces that he was designing. I feel like as a designer, it's just a slap in the face to say you're not putting your heart into it. So I feel like maybe the judges could have worded it better. The reason that they thought he wasn't putting his heart into it was because he finished much earlier than everyone else, but I don't think that that was valid. Now we have episode 9, which is the final episode before the finale. We are left with 4 designers, which is not a lot. The theme for this episode was denim, which I love. I love anything denim. Denim bags, denim pants, denim skirts, denim shirts, like denim jewelry, hey, even. I love denim, but I do see how creating denim in a new, interesting way could be tough. Going into this, I was very excited for Angel's look because of the denim jumpsuit she wore last episode. Each contestant had to create a men's and women's look, which, given the time, that's quite the challenge. The first look to walk the runway was Minju's, and I thought that her looks were very futuristic. I liked the wide pants on the man, and I thought that the head cover for the woman was cool. I thought it was a nice twist on denim, but I wouldn't say it was her best work. Next we have Angel, and she mixed like paint splatter and bleach, which I thought was cool. I really liked the design and silhouette of the dress. I wouldn't say that I'm like a huge fan of the paint splatter, but I do understand why she added it to make it a little bit different. I thought the men's top was also very impressive, and I definitely haven't seen anything like that. Daniel focused on sustainability with his designs, which I thought was cool, especially like he said, for the fashion industry. Basically, he took the denim scraps from all the other contestants and stitched them onto the bottom of his dress. And this represented the glaciers and then the melting sea ice. So I thought the dress was very nice, the colors were nice, the silhouette was nice, and I think the star of the show was the woman's dress, but I don't think the men's look was bad at all. I really liked the jacket. I think he really aced this, and I honestly have no criticism. Last but not least, we have Ashton, and I really like the women's pants. I like the waist and the wide leg. I was a little bit disappointed just because I feel like we've seen a lot of looks similar to this from Ashton, and when you compare it to everybody else, they seem to have brought a little bit more, like a new idea, more creativity, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with this look. It's just when you're up against the best, you have to do your best, and I don't think he did that. The guest judge for this episode was Tommy Hilfiger, which I thought was very cool. And then alongside him, we had Elizabeth Stewart, Tan France, and Alexa Chung. My favorite look was Daniel's. The meaning, the structure, I think it looked beautiful while also having such an importance that I feel like he deserved to win. The person that the judges decided to win was Daniel as well. So yes, he did win this, and I definitely think he deserved it. In terms of eliminations, 2 people had to go home this round, and Ashton was one of my choices, and then for the other, I could not decide. Obviously, I didn't want it to be Daniel, so that only left Angel and Minju, and honestly, what I put down was Angel or Minju. I can't choose. I think if either of them got eliminated, I would have been like, okay, fine, because if 2 people had to go home, I have no preference between the 2. The 2 people that the judges decided to send home were Ashton and then Angel. So while I am excited that we still have Minju, it is sad to lose Angel. Going into the final episode, we only have 2 contestants left, and those are Daniel and Minju. So we have 1 episode left to decide who wins. For episode 10, the structure was a little bit different. I knew obviously that they would have to create more than 2 looks, but they each had to create a collection of 10 looks. That being said, they did have 3 days, and for the rest of the challenges, they've only been having 2, and they had 3 extra sewers to help them. But hearing that they had to create 10 different looks, I was very excited to see all their creativity. They also had each of their families come out to support them, which I really loved. I thought that was so sweet. And it definitely gave them the motivation to put their best work forward and continue. Throughout this whole episode, I kept going back and forth between the 2 of them because I really didn't know whose collection was going to be the best, and the entire time the 2 of them were so supportive for each other, and I thought that was really beautiful. It almost didn't feel like a competition. It was more like 2 designers just showcasing their collections next to each other, but obviously only one of them won. That being said, we should get into the first collection, which is Daniel's. For Daniel's first look, he had a like pink men's shirt with black stars and then jeans with a star on the butt. I really liked this look. I don't think it's the most creative thing ever, but I liked it. The second look was a red and white striped shirt with a jacket, and this look definitely felt like Daniel. I thought the look was good. Again, not revolutionary, but good. His third look was a base of blue and white with a tie, and then he had a jacket that had the letters DF for his name. I thought the jacket was really cool, but again, I wasn't in love with this. For his look 4, it was an all-white look with some black stitching and some black accents, and then the model wore a pig nose. I thought the belt was really cool, and this whole look is very wearable. Like, you could definitely see someone just walking down the street wearing this. His fifth look was brown and yellow stripe, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of this pattern, and I feel like that was kind of hard for me to overlook. His look 6 was a light blue like skirt and then a zippered top, and I really liked the zippered top. I think the look was nice, but again, not revolutionary. His look 7 was all black, and I thought it was cool. I liked the top, and for an all black look, I thought it was decently creative. His look 8, he actually smashed a like lace overlay with jewels, and I thought that was cool. I thought this was definitely different and out of his comfort zone, and you could tell watching that. So I think that's why I like this one so much more than some of the other ones. His look 9 was a black look with a silver top and then a white belt. And again, I just feel like this is kind of playing it safe. I do like the sparkling silver top, definitely, but the rest of it just feels like it's already been done. Daniel and Minju were instructed to have like look 10 be their bombshell look, their showstopper. So for Daniel's look 10, he had a silver dress with an asymmetrical waistline and then a high-low skirt. And I don't think this dress is ugly. I definitely think people would wear this. And as much as it pains me to say, I don't think this was like the showstopper that he maybe was looking for. I love the asymmetrical waistline. I love asymmetry in clothes, but I don't think it was enough. I think as I'm saying this, it may sound like I'm being a little too negative or harsh about his looks, but as I was watching it, I was really enjoying each look of his. They looked great coming down the runway. I just think that maybe he played it a little too safe. But then again, if I was in the same situation, 10 looks in 3 days, I'd probably do the same thing. Next up, we have Minju's collection of her 10 looks, and I think she started off with a bang. For her look 1, she had this red and white dress, and I thought the shoes were really cool that she used, and I liked the print. I thought the structure was really cool, like the V and the shoulders. I thought it was a nice spin on a simple dress, and it had pockets. I really liked her look too. It was this matching 2-piece set, top and then a skirt, I believe. I liked the white buttons with the contrast of the pink, and this set also had pockets. I liked the puff sleeve, and honestly, I would so wear this. Look 3 wasn't my favorite. It was this white jacket with this white and black top. And while I thought it was cool, I didn't think it was her best or most creative work. Look 4 was so cool. I have never seen a shape like this, so that was definitely unique. I actually really liked the print, and I think it was just beautiful overall. Look 5 was this structured top with these flowy pants, and I thought the contrast between those two was cool. Looking at the prints, I wouldn't have thought that I liked it, but I actually really do. Somehow it works. What really makes me like this is the structure of the top. I just love how she structures her clothes. Her look 6 was a dress, and it had buttons all the way down. It had puffy sleeves, it had some print with some black, and it looked beautiful. I just get so confused as to how she creates such a structured look while also making it look loose and flowy. Like, I don't know, that's a talent. I didn't think that look 7 was groundbreaking. It was a green tank dress with some lace underlay, and it wasn't ugly, but it wasn't that pretty. For her look 8, I really liked the pants, but I wasn't a huge fan of the mixed prints. I thought that maybe it was a little too much going on the top. For look 9, I feel like she did mixed print so much better. This look is stunning. It's a long sleeve puffy dress. It has a mock neck, and I don't know what it is about this dress that I love so much, but it's one of my favorites. For Minju's look 10, her showstopper, she created a wedding dress. But this wedding dress was unlike any other because the headpiece turned into a train. It was a beautiful dress, and I love transformations like this. I think it takes a lot of talent to turn one thing into another. And especially in the time frame that she had, I really liked this. I will say Daniel did give a tip on how to turn the headpiece into a train, so it was definitely teamwork, which I appreciate. While watching this episode, I really did not know who was going to win. The judges were Eva Chen, Elizabeth Stewart, and Elizabeth von der Goltz, and then of course Tan France and Alexa Chung. I thought either of them could win. I thought maybe Daniel because his clothes seemed more like the average consumer would buy them, and I thought that would be appealing. And then for Minju, her use of prints and her designs, I really loved hers as well. I did make a decision. I did prefer one of their designs over the other, and so I wanted Minju Kim to win. But I was definitely open to the possibility of either of them winning and being happy about it. Honestly, I think both of them deserved it. They seem nice, they seem genuine, they're creative, and I think that they deserved this. That being said, the person that the judges decided was next in fashion is Minju Kim. She did it. I was so excited. The fact that her family was here for this, the fact that Daniel was so supportive of her win, like all of it was just so beautiful. I honestly feel like it was just such a nice ending. I avoided all spoilers for this show, so I didn't look these people up on Instagram. Like I was avoiding it at all costs because yes, the show has been out for probably a couple years. But I hadn't seen any spoilers up until this point, so I was going to leave it that way. That being said, I looked up Minju Kim's brand on Instagram, and she is still creating beautiful looks, so good for her. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate if you gave it a like, comment, and subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.